This is Daybreak, and thank you for staying with us. The hashtag on X is Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya. And at Ayub Abdikadir will sample your feedback towards the end of this broadcast. In studio with me, Richard Onyonka, Senator, Kisii County. Arnold Maliba is the Strategic Communication Advisor at the United Democratic Alliance Party. And Duncan Mathenge is the MP representing Nyeri Town constituency and a member of the National Assembly's Health Committee. Coming to you first, Honorable Mathenge, and we ended on a note in the first segment of the newspaper review of Arnold mentioning some of the decisions that came out of the courts, and ever since the new year began, the assault on the judiciary, especially by your members of the political divide on some of the orders that were issued by the courts. I mean, it seems that there's a problem with litigation and there's a problem with the judiciary, but the government is apparently avoiding to relook into its threshold of evidence of what's filed before the courts of law and the effective utilization of the office of the Attorney General in some of these cases that the government has brought before the courts of law. I mean, what's your thought?
Let me begin by saying that the conversation that sparked the whole of this thing is the issue of corruption, bedeviling every sector of our society, of our nation. And it pervades the three arms of government, the executive, the legislature, where I sit, as well as the judiciary. And the big question here has been when the judiciary, with its independence, as provided for in the Constitution. But let the judiciary also remember that in the same Constitution, the sovereignty lies with the people. And it is also exercised through their elected representatives. And therefore, when parliamentarians talk about the judiciary, we are also getting feedback from our from Kenyans who seek services in what is famously known as the corridors of justice. The second thing is the question of matters that are of great national importance. The judiciary cannot tell me that it would have caused irreparable damage and loss if on the day that the Kenyans by right who went before the judiciary on the issue of the health laws, the ex parte orders could have been postponed for a day or two for both parties to appear before the judges the following day within 24 hours or within 48 hours. In the meantime, this is what has happened, Ayub. This weekend on Sunday, in a village known as Kamakwa, within a radius of 100 meters, I had 4 fundraisings for medical cases. One at Tomotomo for an eye operation for a patient who has an NHIF card that cannot cover the entire cost of the operation in a mission hospital, and the villagers needed to raise 100,000. At a place called known as Gitadhini, a church elder of the EIPCA church, we needed to raise 500,000 for a throat cancer case at Kenyatta University Hospital. He has an NHIF card, which is only footing part of the bill. At a place called Kamoyo, we have, again, another man at Odaya Kenyatta National Hospital from a road accident, multiple injuries. Unfortunately, this guy did not even have an NHIF card. We had to raise 300,000. The other one, again, at Kenyatta National Hospital, after chemotherapy, which was fully paid for by NHIF, now the lady needs surgery, we needed to raise 400,000. In one village, within 100 meters radius, the community there needed to raise in one day, 1.3 million shillings. If the social health insurance law was working, this community would have been saved. And the delay for these patients to access treatment, that is a matter of grave national importance.
This is my question, Honorable Mathenge.
Yes.
You have talked about cases that are very unfortunate, and which apparently is also a common problem among many Kenyans.
Across.
Is this problem and the other problems the problem of the judiciary, or is the cause the judiciary, or a system failure in this country since we gained independence of policy players failing the Kenyan people in setting up a functional healthcare system, a functional education system, and a proper infrastructure to be put in place?
I acknowledge this is not a problem of the judiciary, but the judiciary lives in this country. The judiciary has relatives who are going through the same problems. Then, when I appear individually before the court, weighed against the matter and how it affects the rest of Kenyans, why should my right individually overtake the rights of the rest of the Kenyans? And therefore we are asking the judiciary to have a balance in terms of the view of the country and how those decisions affect the majority of Kenyans.
As a lawmaker, then, Honorable Madenge,
yes,
you do understand courts of law make determination, render rulings, and make a decision based on what's presented before them, and not generally having a visualize as you want to have of how the society works. Yes, of course, they have to immerse themselves in how we live as a society, but then again, why not relook in and tightening up your cases? What's the point of having the Attorney General's office?
And that is why we are asking, in the instance where I appear before the judiciary, in a case that is of grave, is affecting the majority of Kenyans, then the judiciary, because it has a responsibility also to ensure that Kenyans receive services and Kenyans and Kenya as a country is moving in the right direction. This is my question. The ex parte orders are not a determination of the case.
Okay.
Lastly, on this one. The judiciary recently has also, in the apex court, has literally barred one law firm from appearing or being heard in the judiciary. At what point did then the judiciary decide, have the power to take away the rights of Kenyans to be represented by an advocate of their choice? Okay. And that is why we are talking of judicial overreach, and we are talking of judicial restraint. Okay,
Honorable, I'll come to Senator Onyeka briefly. One point then. You talked about corruption, and we all have to converge our energy in fighting that vice because it's corroding our institutions of government. Yes. But you do understand in the last report by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission that the executive is more corrupt than the judiciary, though there's corruption in the judiciary.
Exactly.
Why not start this fight from the executive?
And that is why I will want to piggyback on the claim by Senator Onyonka that he's in parliament as a member of the opposition. That mindset needs to change if this country is to move in this direction.
Thank you.
We crafted our constitution and changed from the opposition to majority and the minority. Both the majority and the minority have an interest in taking our country forward. The minority cannot keep opposing even the good things that take our country forward. It is my assumption that the minority are a government in waiting. Even those who are a government in waiting would like to start to get into power on a country that is already on a good foundation, not a country that is in the hole.
Yes, Senator.
I would like to agree with my brother Madenge. It's true. The structure of the constitution is that we are in government, but the ruling party is KK and the opposition party is ODM, where I belong. I'm actually disturbed that the arguments we are making on this table here, even when Arnold might dismiss them and look at them from the perspective that, one, it is the courts that are filibustering. I don't know whether Kenyans know. Filibustering is when a legal entity takes it upon itself to basically, for lack of a better expression, kill out anything else that is been brought legally or otherwise by a certain government.
Which is not the case.
Which is not the case. Number two, Kenyans have got short memories. Madenge, let me tell you, my brother, that's how we felt when we were bringing BBI. We were looking at BBI. Why? We said the structure of the system we have is dysfunctional. We are actually asking so that we can try and open it up. What do you need to do? We need to have CDF entrenched in the Constitution. We need to have revenue, which is supposed to be shared by the county governments, moving to a percentage of about 35%. We thought at that time, and we were convinced we had actually followed the regulations and the rules. And yet, in reality, what the court did, it told us you are affecting the effective structure of the very constitution that you people are trying to fix. So, you know what? This thing of yours is illegal. We made a lot of noise. We felt bitter. But that was the truth. The court ruled. The same way the court ruled for President William Ruto that he actually won the election. That's why many of us, once that ruling came out, we stood out and said, it's okay. If the court has ruled, we accepted those were the rules. And this court has actually validated President William Ruto's winning of the election, and therefore he is now our president. We'll work with him. So, what baffles me is when you find the President of the Republic of Kenya, a man who's been around for close to 30 years in this government, a man who has seen what happened from Moi's time, you come to Kibaki, you come to Uhuru himself, and now he's the president, making an announcement, Ayub, that he will not, in fact, honor any court orders. The significance of that statement, to me as a legislator, and to me as a Kenyan, is very worrisome. According to me, the president has the systems. He has ESCC, he has the DCI, he has the National Intelligence Service. The president's responsibility is for him to have come up and look for a way of raising those critical issues, including if there were judges and magistrates who have broken the law, then the Judicial Service Commission has the responsibility. He should have taken their names and gotten our friends, my legislator brother here, or in fact my brother Arnold himself, to file those petitions with the Judicial Service Commission so that these judges who are corrupt.
Which never happened.
Yes. And yet, what have you got now? What you have, my brother, is that you're making the same legal system become dysfunctional by simply radicalizing and turning. The way I read it is that the president was actually trying to weaponize the legal structure negatively by showing Kenyans that the judiciary is corrupt, the judiciary is not serving Kenyans well, and in fact, if he breaks the law, he shouldn't be blamed, because after all, he said that his legitimacy comes from the Kenyan people.
And the Kenyan people voted for this
constitution. Voted for, exactly.
Okay, allow me to ask you this then, Honorable Senator Onyonka, because you're also part of that ecosystem,
yes,
which appears to be also on the back end of why you are taking the blame game altogether.
Yes.
If we get back to the BBI, and I just want to read one of the shortest paragraphs of the ruling by the Court of Appeal of the judges Daniel Musinga, Roslyn Nambuye, Hannah Okwengu, Patrick Yage, Gatembu Kairo, Fatuma Sichale, and Francis Toyet. Toyet said that this constitution is transformative, is not in dispute, but its implementation is the trouble, and went ahead, the final ruling, the nail in the coffin of the Building Bridges initiative that you had supported at the time, and the court found that this is not an ordinary amendment to the Constitution of Kenya, but a dismemberment process which has overlooked why it's critical to have the people who should be placed at the epicenter of decision-making in this country.
It's true.
I mean, it was not only illegal, null and void, but clearly the court are damning ruling against you, who then supported that cause.
Absolutely, but you see, our job,
yep.
Let me tell you, Ayub, our job is to give proposals which could be right or wrong, and that is why the responsibility of the courts is for them to interpret for us. You see what I'm saying? We didn't take the BBI and assume that it was a one-stop shop of solving Kenya's problems. All right? And you know, Ayub, that very many lawyers have different interpretations of whatever that is. We don't have a dispute right now as to whether BBI is something we agree with or not. The court already determined that. What we are saying, and this is what I'm asking my brothers here, we are not a country that is got a king who's ruling over us. We have a constitution that this president we have, who Kenyans voted for, and the president must be responsible, and he must accept that his responsibility is to safeguard and protect that constitution.
Okay.
The only person who can interpret that, in case there's a problem, is the judiciary. So let him allow the judiciary make those rulings, but at the same time, I am happy he acknowledges that the judiciary is corrupt. And therefore, in my interpretation of what is going on, my basic evaluation of the matter is very simple. Allow the judiciary to make its rulings, allow due process to take place. Once these rulings have come and the matters have been determined, then you can conclusively come and tell me, Mr. President, that I think the reason why we were right and the courts were wrong is because they were corrupt, and you can see the argument we are making is now
And that's why we have the Judicial Service Commission placed purposely at that juncture, and the President has representatives in that commission.
In that commission.
To that effect.
Absolutely.
Yes, Arnold.
On the matters of judiciary, I think we really owe ourselves the truth and facts. Ayub, as a journalist, you know that facts are sacred and opinion is free. Can we go back to where this conversation began? In Nyandarua, the president said that we needed a conversation as a nation on what he termed judicial impunity and judicial tyranny. At no point did the president say he will defy court orders.
What then does it mean when he says...
Just
hang on. Okay, you'll proceed. You'll have enough time. You'll respond to my questions. In the same function, what then is your understanding of him telling the principal secretary at the Ministry of Frauds, Weka Pesa, and Elena Maneno, seeking the support of the public? Munataka iendelee ama isiendelee? What's your understanding of that language?
I'll get back to that and then just say this, that I was looking at the president's statement. The president said that we need to have a national conversation. Are we having it? Yes, we are having. To that extent, he got it. Secondly, he said that there are problems in the judiciary, and all of us, everybody on this particular table, including Kenyans, will tell you, yes, there is a problem. I have got a little problem with what I want to call, I don't know whether it's out of oikophobia, the hate of self, hate of country, and let me just call it self-hating. How, first of all, the media and the opposition rushed to strawman the president's statements, even when, like, for example, in Meru, he said, tutapeleka appeal kotini. He pointed out issues of a few people. But do you know the word you've used when you actually introduced this subject? You said an assault. When we ask politicians questions, that is looked at as oversight, and we are holding them to account. But when somebody else asks the judiciary for accountability, that is assault. It's quite oxymoronic. It cannot be one way. And remember that all these organs, including the president, are products of Article 1, that all sovereign power belongs to the people, and the people can exercise it either directly or indirectly. So, when the president, himself a product of that Article 1, a people acting directly, asks questions, why are we gagging him? Why is it so difficult to allow him also to air out? Because in any case, he swore to uphold the rule of law. So up to now, nowhere has the president said that he will defy. I've been looking at headlines that run with the word defy. You are using the word, a very strong word, assault.
I mean, there are different interpretations.
Yet,
I'll shortly have you on New Year's Eve.
For you, by the way, when you sit on that particular platform, you are limited to facts. Interpretations can actually get a little bit lucid. So this is the point I wanted to make, that first of all, can we have a responsible, probably an objective media outlook so that it can also inform how the opposition picks up these issues? Because on the judiciary, I think we are creating mountains out of molehills. The president asked that we need to have this particular conversation. He raised issues on tyranny. He raised on issues of impunity. And we've seen that. I'll give you an example, Ayub. Practically, that I think on 10th of January, the court ruled that government can actually go and remedy what they had identified as an illegality in the housing levy issue. Immediately thereafter, as government went on to actually start that during public participation, they went and injected a process that the court had actually directed, that go and cure this illegality, come up with a law to that effect. What did they do? The same, somebody went back to the same system, injected that process. You know, I'm wondering, how do you inject public participation? You simply are injecting Article 1. Then now, on Friday, the judiciary again, the courts now punish, quote unquote, government for having not done what they told them to do on January 10th. If you are to raise issues with that, what is the problem with that? And I may need to actually say this, that no man is above the law, and no man is beneath the law. So when we ask for accountability, we should not ask for permission from anyone.
Accountability in the context of?
We are talking about judiciary here. Somehow we want
What's the problem? Because I wanted to understand that.
The president has actually raised issues. I've just cited for you an example where let's not even talk about corruption. Where you feel that sometimes, either in the process, and when we speak about this, we are going to be told that we are attacking the decisional independence of judges.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is this. I have sent you to go and correct your tie. For example, let me say that your tie probably is not tied properly. As you head to repair that, I tell you stop. And as you stop, I come back and punish you for having not done that tie correctly. Wouldn't you have a right to complain?
Now,
as much as you might not, as much as you might not agree,
then you turn back and say you are corrupt without evidence.
Now, Arnold, because you call for facts, here is what I would want to ask you.
Yeah.
What then is your understanding of the thereafter statements that were made by lawmakers, including some who said that we should slash the funding of the judiciary because we are parliamentarians. Yes. Honorable Mathenge's predecessor, the former Nyeri Town MP, in the aftermath of the 2017 Supreme Court nullification of President Kenyatta's re-election, petitioned the JSC on the same, saying that we need to slash some funding. Honorable Ndindi Nyoro, the chairperson of the current Budget Committee of the National Assembly in 2017, the same period called for the total abolishment of Katiba 2010. The current Defense Cabinet Secretary, Adan Duale, in 2017, days before the repeat poll on the 26th of October, called out a judge by his ethnic belonging because of decisions that he made in a court of law. The then president and his deputy, Kenyatta and Ruto, respectively, also called our Kora network, the Supreme Court of the Republic of Kenya. These are the players, also some in the opposition, that we have as the safeguards and the guardrail who are supposed to be implementing this constitution. And the problem is the language of the politicians, including those who you advise.
Very good. And I love it that you've gone back to 2017. We were talking about an issue that the president started this year. But you've gone back. And fair enough, because sometimes for politicians and people in public life, whatever they say should actually be it can actually be used against them, or at any point it should actually be pulled so long as you are in public space. Instead of saying that some legislators, those legislators have names, is only one member of parliament, I think for Mogotio, Honorable Kiborek, who, as politicians having political talk, as far as I know, Kiborek does not head any committee.
Okay,
can I respond?
Examples.
I am actually
factual here.
I'm speaking.
I don't want.
I'm actually responding to you
without querying.
I want to respond to your
recent examples.
Can I first of all?
Did you listen to what C.S. Alice Wahome said?
Can I first of all dispense with what you raised? So first of all, it's Honorable Kiborek. Kiborek is not a policy wonk of UDA. Is of course a ranking member. Kiborek is not at the core. I'll tell you because I work there. Honorable Nyonka doesn't, as much as they are his friends. So I'll tell you this. Honorable Kiborek is a ranking member of UDA, but not a policy wonk of the party. Honorable Kiborek has got his rights, Article 38 rights, like any other person, the way he felt. And by the way, he was making a suggestion. And the politicians, all of them over the weekend, every time they go home, that is why the people who do communication for politicians, whether it's in the opposition or wherever, always have it difficult. So we cannot use Honorable Kiborek's words somewhere in the village as a standard upon which we are holding the president, who is actually the owner of this particular conversation, having started it. Let's be fair here, that the call for corruption, you've seen cases. And very funny, Ayub, that you forgot. And by the way, you might actually have forgotten it out of oversight. That all the issues you have raised, for example, are purely of the people in government. You've not called out, for example, some people who have actually called Koti Bandia.
Or even
you've not called that out.
That's what Odinga said.
Any other person watching, any other person watching would actually say, why have you just singled out
because I'm
Kenya Kwanza?
I'm questioning a representative of the party in power.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying, that at any particular point, does it then speak? Because then when other people are in power, when there is these issues, it's fine. But this is the point we actually should not run away from. That the president did not say he will defy the law. On record or anywhere, that is the president. He never said he will defy. Where the media got that word is where I want us to actually get any footage and show that. He said he didn't say that. He said we need to have a conversation. He spoke of about few rotten people. He had specific cases that he had issues with. We cannot collectivize that and say that he's attacking the judiciary.
But Arnold, this is the
in Meru.
Arnold, I want us to get clear.
In Meru, the president said we will go to the court of appeal. We will go and appeal. Why are we not playing that up, but rushing up and saying that the president, including Honorable Nyonka, has said that the president...
You either control the show or this is just going to be a propaganda thing for UDA.
Really?
No, Madenga, I'll come to you shortly.
Honestly, let's have a conversation.
But there was nothing substantial filed.
Propaganda ranting.
Yes, Honorable Madenga.
You know these things.
Let me pick it up from there. And on the judiciary, even before the president spoke, when you go to the corruption index, the Kenya's corruption index, we are 123 out of 180. An independent body out there. Then when we come internally...
Transparency International?
Yes. When we come internally to the reports on the internal bodies that release, the judiciary is consistently ranked in the internal Kenyan corruption index. And
which is the
issues,
which is the number one institution?
In fact, the number one institution has been the police consistently.
Which is the?
The police is in the executive.
Correct.
However, today, suppose the police said, because you Kenyans tell us we are so corrupt, we will no longer serve you. Because that is what the judiciary, for example, told the law firm of Ahmed Nasil. It's not the law firm. The law firm represents Kenyans. If the issue is Ahmed Nasil, as a lawyer individually, they should have. They can take action. Number two, the issues in the judiciary, case delays and backlogs. What is the cause? I have a case where a community in Nyeri has been in court for the last 25 years. To date, whenever it comes to the delivery of judgment, the judge presiding over the case is transferred, then they are taken back to square one. Why should the transfer of a judge who was on the verge of delivering judgment become an excuse? In the light of technology today, where a judgment can be read by a judge who is actually outside the country digitally. Limited access to the public by the judiciary, and then corruption and questionable promotions. You Google, the issues are there. So these issues are not a creation of the president. In terms of the president asking the people in Meru, again we said the sovereignty is with the people. This was the president's program, and he's asking the people he is intending to benefit from the program. It is rather short-sighted to only stick to the houses. There is the other bigger element in terms of joblessness in this country, which I'm sure even Senator Onyonka will agree with, that is an issue we all are grappling with and we need to tackle. Lastly, the pronouncements by politicians, and the president is a politician, and sometimes the human sides of the president will appear sometimes, and we cannot say that he will no longer be human. And therefore, in the same way we had Raila say Koti Bandia, the president also, on the heat of that moment, the human element, Gladys Boss-Shelley has been an officer of the court. She has served as a registrar. She has a lot of knowledge and information on that space. I doubt we can largely contradict her experience in the area of justice.
And she never filed anything before the JSC. That is the
so there we go.
Yes, what about you?
I'm actually agreeing with my brother Madenge here. I just want to remind him, and I want to tell my brothers here, we have to decide whether we want a country where we're going to live by the rule of law or not. Number two, the president swore, when he was given that sword, that he is going to protect and defend the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya. I agree with you, Madenge, from the point of view that you're saying this is the human element of His Excellency. The truth is, even when he made the comment in Kisii about the sword, I actually felt, I still believe the same, that he was making that statement as a jocular, as a funny statement. And yet, that statement is so weighty, it is so scary, which means that the president, and since you are advising him and you are in his office, please tell him that what he says is so substantive. If the president today stands up and said Richard Onyonka is going to die tomorrow, believe you me, I think I would die. Because the president is not an ordinary police officer, he's not an ordinary government state officer, he's not a PS, he's the president of the republic. Number three, you cannot fix a broken system by using extrajudicial and unconstitutional means to change that system. The reason why Kenya is failing is because we've always used extrajudicial means to try and change those ones which the law makes us not to change. And what I am begging my brothers here, and what I am telling my colleagues and friends in the UDA team, we are not saying that the problem of our republic, the problems started after President Ruto became president. No. What we are saying is that the expectation of the Kenyan public on President William Ruto to actually come out and solve some of these problems, the standard is so high. I expected him to do so much, not in terms of putting so much money there or whatever, but simply, I mean, let me ask you, Ayub, what is difficult with having the books where passports are being printed? That is a problem with the Nyayo House. And then what is happening? Because those books are not available, because passports, and then you see, you have now Kenyans, you have some who, the rules, the memo rules which have been given from the Department of Immigration, is that, for example, there are certain individuals you are told to go back to your village, go and get your birth certificate, get the chief to sign those things for you. Then when you bring them back, you are told, no, like now, you can't get a passport from Nairobi. Oh, go back to Kisii because we have an office there. This is a poor student who's trying to get a passport to go and get a job in Pakistan, wherever they are going to get those jobs. When you look at the issues that are happening in the hospital, it is not that Kenyatta Hospital became dysfunctional after William Ruto became president. No, what we are saying is it was at least not having the problems that it's having now. Why? Because they are most probably new individuals who've been appointed to those positions and they were not even maybe qualified, or most of them are not doing a good job. That is something a president can hold his CS for health, and she can fix Kenyatta if she wanted in 1 week or 2 weeks. So the point I'm making is that our country, even when there are so many things that are wonderful about being Kenyan, the determination, we are people who go look for it. Our academic standards have been high. The performance of the country, look at what our athletes do. Look at our wildlife and animals. I mean, we have so much we can talk about in this country. But you see, Ayub, if somebody today was at a national park, let's assume he's a tourist, and an accident happened, unless there's a private arrangement, you know, this person cannot even go to Narok for treatment, because you'll find the level 4 hospital doesn't have a theater, doesn't have a HDU unit, I mean, these are the issues we are seeing. And the problems we are having have nothing to do with the national government alone. The county government are in a worse mess. And if you look now, look at what is happening with the IBEC.
Yes.
The governors are saying the government needs to give us more money. Why? Because we have got such challenges, and yet we know how much corruption is with the county government. We know that we need to change the way we are using the money that is going to the county governments for us to change the people's lives.
Okay, thank you. Let's now sample the feedback. I'll come to you, Arnold, and also Honorable Madenge. This is what we are saying at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir. The hashtag on X is Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422. The first one is from Jaya Musoma. He says, truth be told, we are a broken people in a broken system. The newspaper headline today comes at a time when a Tanzanian rapper, Nay wa Mitego, lights the internet with a song about a certain country in caveat with broken values, system ya majambaz. Senator Lois 027 says Kenyans have totally lost hope in our crooked governance system, witnessed in our motherland rather. It's no longer at ease with most of Kenyans as our government has ensured that Kenya shilling, okay, you wanted to point out something, is losing its value at the same time not circulating among the SMEs. Frank Orinda says you cannot ask the judiciary to have a balanced look at cases before them, whereas the bills are unconstitutional. I mean, do you expect them to overlook the law? Engineer Lazaro says defending the government to the point of cardoning wastage in public service will only result in glorifying corruption. Gashora says ask Maliba to name just 5 of the 172 promises that have been kept by his party. Samuel Owo says, until when will these corrupt individuals continue to embezzle billions of taxpayer money? What's painful, they always get away with it, since we have never seen anyone being prosecuted and convicted for this. Again, Gashora says, ask Honorable Madenge what role he played as a legislator in drafting the SHIF bill and how it will solve the problems among his constituents. The problem with NHIF is theft, and this is not being addressed. This number says Kenyans being burdened for no reason. We need to change the law so that we don't pay what has gone to individuals' accounts. Their families should pay even if they die. Our taxes are promoting the comfort of a few individuals. So sad. Lekishon Laban says, yesterday I was at Nyaya House for my ID replacement. There seems to be some order. However, when I requested that I need my ID in 2 weeks, they said it will be in a month. I don't understand why the printing of an ID should take that long. K. Maisi says, one thing we can attest to as Kenyans is that it's not lack of systems. Changing NHIF to SHIF with our attitudes and greed. Removing the Edu Afia and most outpatient services affected many. There are students who benefited. Let them go to government hospitals. Gode Barasawere says the Kenya Kwanza administration rode on a wave of zero tolerance on graft and observation of absolute independence to other arms of government. Let the president slay the ugly dragon of corruption and give the judiciary its full independence. Yes, Arnold.
Can I just begin with that question asked by the viewer?
Yes.
First of all,
briefly.
I will run through so many things. He only asked for 5. Top of my head, restructuring the supply management at KEMSA, we've worked out well on that. Number 2, there's Hustler Fund as credit access to the people at the bottom. It's continuously something that is working with so little put in, but now going in at a portfolio of about 42 billion shillings. The administration promised to subsidize production. I can tell you that in Kakamega, where I come from, for the first time, and I'm talking about county government data, they have actually harvested 4 million bags. And in Kakamega, we only consume 1 million bag of whether beans or maize. That has worked around there. We talked about
the teachers' recruitment.
You are even helping me. Teachers' recruitment, the judiciary.
Which was a sham.
The judiciary swearing in the lawyers, giving police independence, the housing. There's so much that we've done. I can actually run through. I think one of those things that we're going to start doing this week is actually to run a few of the success stories that we've done as a regime and government. But allow us to go back to court very fast because it's important.
Yeah.
First of all, let's put Friday in context. I saw newspapers again running with the Black Friday and everything else. First of all, Friday should be celebrated because we have always desired and aspired for a robust democracy and institutions that are strong. So when institutions hold their own, we want to look at it as if somebody else lost. Kenya is a performing democracy, and therefore we expect institutions to stand their own, even against the president. That is the beauty of the Constitution 2010. That is the beauty of the aspiration of us as a people. So anyone looking at Friday as a beating for Kenya Kwanza is either one person who does not understand the wholesomeness of what governance should be. We are doing well as a democracy. So there are challenges that we need to work on from. But then that does not stop us from having a conversation about some of those decisions. That does not stop us from actually pointing out where there are issues. And like I told you, if you are afraid to think it, you should not be afraid to say it. If we think there's a problem in the judiciary, we should be bold enough to speak about it. And the judiciary is not above reproach. It is not above being asked to account. They must account. So there are, of course, the individual issues in those particular cases, the specific issues that go around that. But over and above that, one of those things that we must really agree as a nation is that even the conversations we have on this platform, whether they originate from government, from the opposition, from the media, or even from individuals as a people, have a way of permeating, or rather getting into the national fabric. And therefore, I will tell you, I will go back to where we started, and this is the headline that is so important, that whereas this headline is fairly reflective of what we are as a country, if you sustain this streak of negativity bias, either you want to stir up a rebellion or you want to polarize a country, if this is sustained, this cannot be a mainstay. Regime bashing cannot be that single strategy that everybody, politicians want to use it to revive their careers. Institutions probably that are struggling with dwindling resources really want to use regime bashing as a strategy to bring back revenue, but at the cost of polarizing a nation. I have told you that seasoned people will tell you that the strength of any currency sometimes, up to 25% of it is just news alone. News can erode as much as 25% of a currency. So even as we point at politicians, and these two are very, they sit in a very unpopular position, that him as a senator, his role is known, but he will be asked about a road, he will be asked about fees, he will be asked about passports and everything else. So somehow we point this side. But as a society, we have got several pillars, and all of us must have an outlook that builds and feeds into the republic. Outside of that, then we do not have the moral standing to call out other people.
Okay, Arnold, just a question. You talked about, Honorable Nyoka, I'll come to you. Just sip your water, no problem, no rush.
Can I have an extra bottle of water, please?
Yes, you'll be brought, sure. You talked about the question of education.
Yes.
Healthcare is where the Honorable Mathenge is passionate about. Honorable Nyonka generally talked about the need for having a working framework of service delivery method where Kenyans can have services that is a right to them. It's not a privilege. I mean, I have a concern, however, when you point out that, for example, this is a headline which is titled A Broken System.
Yes.
And there's no mention of government here. It talks about healthcare. It talks about services at the Nyayo House. It talks about Kenyans who have been struggling, for example. To just give you the story of one Kenyan as one amongst the many examples. Retired in 2018. This is have retired and at peace. The problem is, Arnold, that you agree with me. Number one, that healthcare and pensions and access at Nyayo House, proper infrastructure, working education system. We have heard stories about children who are unable to report to Form 1 because they simply cannot, their parents can't. Neither have the members of parliament received their constituency development fund kitty money. Then therefore, isn't it unfair for you to judge the media by virtue of covering this? Were we to go silent on a broken system as a country, then would it even be more disastrous that many things will be happening below the radar and in darkness if this was not covered by the media? Is it unfair for you to bash the media about negativity when these are the real stories happening in Kenya?
I think it will be unfair of you to say that I am unfair, to actually say that sustained streak of a negativity bias serves and plays into the pitch that leads to polarization. That if for 14 months, the 16 months that William Ruto has been in power, we have only run with bad news. And Honorable Nyonka here says very well that some of these things transcend regimes. They didn't even start to do with him. But this is what I am actually saying. That if this is the currency that informs the media outlook, then there is a problem. Because we are human beings, and anthropologists will tell you that the difference between we human beings and other animals is that we are storytelling animals. And we are our stories. If the stories we tell, the media outlook is about the terrible country we live in, I call it oikophobia. If this is what we are running with every single day, and there is no space for the good things that are happening, and there are miracles done by individuals, done by Kenyans, the economy and even the position we hold as the people in the region, Ayub, it's not necessarily because of what regimes have done in the past, but every Kenyan waking up in the morning
collective effort
and energizing themselves as first of all as individuals, and then collectively pushing where we are.
Thank you.
Calling for the change on the face of the dangers of a single story is that anyone looking at our house, they will think that our house is terrible when it's not. We should also call for balance.
Thank you.
And calling for an objective media outlook for a nation is no sin. It is no treason. And we are saying this, can you do an audit? And just look at how bad we have run with these headlines. Ayub, you've been in this country. Is it really that terrible? For those of us who work elsewhere, who've had an opportunity to work out of this country, you will realize that it's not really all gloom. We cannot turn this country into a village of lamentation.
Thank you. I'll come to you and then I'll come to you. We'll finish.
Thank you, Ayub. Let me speak on Friday.
Okay, let me say to Senator Onyonka for fairness. I'll come to you. Yes, Senator.
My brother Arnold, I want to bring you to speed, and I'll be very brief. KK Alliance is the one we started radicalizing and mobilizing Kenyans by telling them there were two classes of Kenyans. You are the poor and the rich. You are the hustler and the others. Number two, you are talking about regime bashing. Let me tell you, my brother, there's nothing that this regime can be bashed about, because each and every single thing that is negative, that is Kenyan-based, that Kenyans are looking at, the regime has every capacity. And I can tell you this, Arnold Madenge, you've heard me say this on TV once. If Ruto doesn't fix Kenya, I don't think there's anybody who can fix it. I've said it before. Why was I saying that? It is not because I think Ruto is an angel. No, he has been there. He knows the players. He has seen, he knows who steals in Kenya. He knows. He's been in this system. This system, we know it. We know who are the players. Right now, if you ask the president to tell you who's grabbing national land in Kenya, he'll tell you. He has that information. What we are saying is very simple. Yes, Arnold, KEMSA, you've sorted it out. That was a structural problem. It started from the days of Jubilee. You sorted it out. I give you credit for that. Thank you very much, sir. The Hustler Fund, I don't know what its effect is. Maybe you can start telling Kenyans what the effect is. I borrowed 3,000. Nobody has ever claimed it. I still owe the Hustler Fund 3K. I wanted to see whether it's working. I didn't find anybody to tell me, yes, as a legislator, I have to know whether it was working. They actually sent me 3K, which I have not paid. Number 3, fertilizer subsidy. I live in Kitale. Fantastic. But let me tell you what the problem is. After harvest problems. Where is that maize going to go? What is the price for a bag of maize right now? What has happened to National Cereals and Produce Board? Look at the management of it. What is happening in terms of the fertilizer that are being supplied all over the country? How is it being supplied? Some of it is actually being sold. If the president wanted to know, he would get those facts because we have them. This is the dysfunctionality of my country. Yes, you want to produce maize, and yes, you want to have people to have ugali. But we are having a challenge, my brother. Our livestock has a problem. We're importing everything. We are a net importer of eggs. We are a net importer of meat. I mean, not meat, of products from Uganda and from the other countries. Look at what is happening right now. Most of the parents who are serious like you and me, you know what they are doing now? They are sending their children to go to school in Rwanda. System is pristine, there is no corruption, the students are being taught well, there is no exam cheating, the teachers who fixed it, you know who is teaching in Rwanda? Kenyans. Yes. Look at who's running the education system in Rwanda, Kenyans. So why is it that we are able to fix other countries as you're talking, and yet our country, we can't fix it? Why? Because of the goddamn corruption that is in this republic. It's a cartel. I hope the president can come and discuss the issue of who has got what regime.
Just one line of question to him, kindly.
No, let me bring on a question.
Ayub, I like what Senator Onyonka has said, that he has such faith in the ability of President William Ruto in turning around this country. For me, I would only say one thing, that Mr. President, we are expecting you to dig deeper into your reserves, into your energy, and into your focus in turning around our country.
That's our point.
The second thing, the press. I like it when the press brings out real issues without sensationalizing and headlines designed to sell. When the press gives us the correct perspective, I actually call the press the conscience of our nation. As I called for balance in the judiciary, I will also call for balance in the press, in the interest of our nation. Let us not drive our nation into self-pity and wallowing in misery. We have reason to give our country and our nation hope.
Yeah.
On Friday, this is one very interesting Friday for me. After that luring on Friday, that was called the Black Friday, over the weekend, Raila Odinga in Mombasa said the housing, affordable housing, is desirable and needed in this country. The only problem we are having is the approach.
Absolutely.
That is why I called for the mindset that once we have that concurrence, it is not about the minority, it is not about the majority.
And that's
Can
what
we
we've
therefore
been saying.
come together?
That's what we've been saying.
And have concurrence on this single issue? On the passports,
Yes.
I am surprised that we are talking about Kisii. In Nyeri town is the regional headquarters for the Central Region. I am fighting for a passport immigration office to be opened in Nyeri. I want to save.
You don't have
the people of Nyeri in the region from traveling to Nairobi and having the same complaints that you are having.
I agree with you.
And therefore, when you look at all these things, our resource envelope is clear in our mind, both my mind and yours, and the rest of Kenyans. We must be able to agree. What then do we prioritize first? Because we do not have the resources to do everything at the same time. Fertilizer leakages, that is why the government went out in the month of October and November last year to carry out a registration of farmers, including georeferencing the farms and the sizes on production. I'm happy. You're happy about the increase in production. The government cannot be the sole market of agricultural produce in this country. The private sector has a role to play.
And the forces of supply and demand.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, briefly as we finish up.
I just needed to say that Senator Onyonka honestly displays and possesses a rare candor that cannot be found on the other side of the shores from which he actually comes from or represents. I'm talking about politically. And that he should actually be lauded for actually being quite objective when it comes out. But this is what I was saying, and I'll actually buttress, or I'll rather finish by buttressing that. That number one, regime bashing is not journalism. Number two, regime bashing is not civil society, is not what CSOs exist for. Regime bashing is not oversight. We cannot use regime bashing as what I call permission structure for incompetence. You will find people who, like, for example, and Senator Onyonka has actually done so well. He reads what is in Parliament. You will actually find people going into funerals, coming even to the media to bash government. And they're elected members. I think Parliament receives budgets 3 times, the budget document is in Parliament 3 times way before it comes out here. But you will find somebody who has not read that, comes from Parliament, and it comes out here. All they do, because for them, oversight, quote unquote, is regime bashing. Be that as it may, let us say this, that both the media, the opposition, and a part of civil society are using old maps to find new routes. The new Kenya, and I'm talking about the post-2010 Kenya, ushers us into a place where we have got participatory government. So there is no us versus them. And that is why when he says that we know this system, we know these things, it reminded me of the Kikuyu saying that there is no thief and the one who was watching. I am not so fluent in that language. So those who know and those who are stealing, you know, like Senator Nyonka says that we know.
One and the same.
They're one and the same.
You are now, he's passing as passion against me. And I want to tell him, your cabal and your team is a den of thugs, crooks, thieves, who have
but there is no difference between the thief and the one who's watching.
What they do, listen,
the one who knows,
you see, when
the one who is stealing,
raise issues
are one
about
and
their
the same.
They say we are also thieves. The truth is very simple. You guys fix your house. You guys, you know the challenges the country faces. And you guys stop blackmailing the president. Allow him to take some of you to court because many of you have been stealing. I know that.
At least the president is not taking me to court. But this is the point.
Okay.
This is the point.
Relatively, the example that you have given is the thief and the watcher.
The one who's watching,
one and the same.
And in a participatory government means that all of us share the responsibility in fixing this country. And I like it when he says that if the president, William Ruto, does not fix this country, no one else will.
Thank you.
When he says that, the president is fixing this country, but when he fixes one screw, he's looking at a small speck and pointing at that. Instead of allowing the president to continue fixing and helping him along the way, we are drawing him back by simply pulling his leg on very minute things. And the same is happening not just with opposition, civil society, and even the media, where today we will talk about, let's talk about the education sector. You bring in 56,000 new teachers. But then citizens will look around for that one teacher who did not get and has got a sob story to tell about it. Is a child of a single mother, is a total orphan probably, or something like that. And that is the story that will run. And that is why I'm saying, and that is what, I don't want to be helped. Ayub, at least on this particular point, I don't want to be helped. Just allow me to finish my point without being helped.
I want to bring into my reality. I am a senator. I worked and I was there when this position was given. You went and gave all your friends members of parliament who are in UDA.
And he was there. He has not gone to DCI. Has he reported to DCI? Has he reported to EACC? He is an elected member of parliament. He says he knows these things. Whoever claims,
order, please.
Whoever claims, okay.
Yes. These are the characteristics that people like him make UDA very unpopular. The truth is, these were cases that were highlighted. Chances are the minister didn't even know. Chances are the president didn't know. Why are you defending
an illegality? They are his friends.
Wait, why are you defending an illegality? Just say this thing was bungled up. At least the military has stopped it. It used to be there, the military doesn't. It happens at the police, it happens at GSU. And then my brother is telling me that I was there malingering around doing nothing. That's why I didn't get those positions.
Thank you. Who said that?
This is the
who said that? Who said that?
That he believes that my responsibility to carry a gun, go and tell everybody, give me those positions I employ people from Kisii County.
On the issue of teachers' recruitment. Yes. The recruitments were based in every sub-county, all constituencies in this country. There were recruitments in Kisii.
We need the list,
in every sub-county. Call. You sit in parliament. In the Senate, there is an education committee. Use that committee to call.
Let me tell you.
For the list to be provided. Please wait, Senator. Please wait, Senator.
The list is being brought.
Please wait, Senator.
We are going to audit the list.
So there we go.
Okay.
Ayub,
thank you.
When I have certain powers as a legislator, I cannot fail to execute my mandate on the floor of the legislature and come and complain here before the media.
Thank you.
Ayub.
On that note, Arnold, you made your point.
He made a very strong point, kindly, in one line.
Okay, Arnold, we're out of time. Please, with respect. It's 8 minutes past the time, and it's a good note to end it at that. And to just also underscore that objective media coverage or objective questioning is not always anti-government. The head of state was very clear in 2023 on New Year's Eve that he is an open book, and so he is his government, open to criticism. And that is the beauty of our foundational democracy, which is a free speech where you can hold anyone to account, including the president, who is subject to, for example, before Parliament, impeachment if he violates the Constitution or there are any other issues that as outlined by the Constitution. That's the beauty. And we end it on that note. Senator, thank you. Honorable Madenge, thank you. Arnold, thank you. We'll see you next time.
Somebody was inciting Senator to slap me.
Somebody, I just